Animation. Animation has a very special place in everybody's hearts, right? I mean, there was a time when we used to just be glued to our television sets all day and night, just watching our favorite cartoons and anime. I wonder why I used to do that though. Was it because we were teleported into a time and space that was so different, so unique and fantastical than our own? Well, do you even understand what goes behind the making of an animation film? How do these drawings that we see on screen come to life? How are these beautiful, captivating worlds conjured for us to experience? Well, let me take you on a little journey into this fascinating world of animation. Well, that's my work. Let me take this opportunity to introduce myself. I'm Devjyoti Shaha. I'm an animation filmmaker and also the founder of an indie animation studio in Bombay called Goppo Animation. Some of you may have come across my work on social media or somewhere. Some of you may know me through this weird looking face, which is also my logo. But I'm sure most of you right now must be thinking, who is this guy? And why is he even here? Well, I'm here to tell you a little secret. An accidental discovery that I chanced upon in my little career that I've had in animation through the process of animation itself. Well, if I can say it, I'll say it out loud, but let me show you instead. You see, this is a typical animation broken down frame by frame. Us animators work with the lowest common denominator of time itself, frames. As most of you might know, that a second of film is 24 frames. And for us who work in hand-drawn 2D animation, it's 24 drawings per second. Of course, we can get away with a little less than that, but you get the point that animation is a very long and meticulous process of just breathing life into a bunch of drawings per second. Isn't that beautiful? Every part of an animation film is built from scratch, almost like a recipe. Nothing of what you see on screen right now exists in reality. There are no actors, there are no on-location sounds, neither are there people running around with their cameras. We are filmmakers without a camera. Now, let's take a step back and get into our own lives. How do we live our daily mundane lives? You see, in an average Indian household, films are not really treated as anything more than probably a 2-hour engagement. Sometimes a little bit of escapism is involved in that, right? Similarly, animation is also not really treated as anything more important than just kids' entertainment. I'm sure you might agree, some of you, or most of you might. But at the same time, I want you to ponder upon one idea, how films and animation have developed our world. And films is an extremely potent medium of storytelling in today's society. Films can bring together an audience and also split the audience in half. It can make you cry, it can make you happy, it can make you angry, and also come at peace with yourself. And also create a safe space of sorts where there can be active participation and dialogue between different people of society, right? But I guess it's the very nature of films and animation in general that they're so different from our own perceived reality. Is it what makes us take them for granted and not take them as seriously? And I guess a major part of this involves, as we are growing up, we tend to live a life in theory. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, remember those days that when you used to think about what you want to grow up to be? You want to be an astronaut, you want to be an army, you want to join the army, you want to be a professional at what you do. But immediately, if you come to think of it, adulting becomes suddenly an act of inhibiting yourself from all these probabilities that you had when you were a child. And you're just picking out these little molds that you want to fit in that society kind of creates for you. And that's probably a sad ending to all your imaginations and reality that you thought as a kid, right? And for the longest time, I would also think this way until I chanced upon a very eternal truth that I hold very dearly to my heart. That whatever we are doing, no matter what field we are in, either we are doctors or astronauts or farmers or dancers or artists like myself, whatever we are doing in this world, it's just to understand us as humans and our environment better. And whatever we are doing in this field of life, we are just trying to get everything together in the form of stories. And that is where all of us, everybody in this room and this world alike, have a commonality. We are all storytellers. Now, storytelling, I'm sure, is a word that is on everybody's mouths right now. But it's been there since time immemorial. It's been there since the dawn of the moving image. It's been there since the dawn of mankind. I do the same through the medium of animation. To me, animation is almost a celebration of movement, and by that extension, it's a celebration of life itself. And the best way to understand it is probably living your life in 24 frames per second. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, movement forms the basis of all human interactions. The way we move tells a lot about how we feel or how we think. Say, for example, I casually take a sip from my glass versus I'm angry and I'm taking a sip from my glass versus I'm nervous and I'm taking a sip from my glass. What am I doing here? It's basically the same action, but it's these subtle differences that I'm making in these timing and spacing of all these intricate movements. Is it what's rendering all these expressions differently? Right? Well, I have had plenty of these insights in living life in 24 frames per second. Trust me, when I got to know about it, I was extremely excited to be living a world by the frame. Just imagine if you observe clearly in whatever instance you are, a life per second but if you break your life down into a life per frame, then imagine the intensity with which you can achieve so many things in life. I've had plenty of insights in living life in 24 frames per second. But let me keep you from the trouble and just collate everything into 3 major reasons why living life in 24 frames per second is a great idea for you. Firstly, living life in 24 frames per second gives you an idea of slowing down. You know, when you get into a project, you're just thinking about the product and you're not really giving your heart into a process. Or say, for example, you're traveling and you're just thinking about the destination that you have to arrive at. You're not really giving a lot of time and effort into the journey and the beauty of it. Similarly, I guess living life in 24 frames per second gives you an opportunity to slow down and savor life in all its intricacies and subtleties that it has to offer. So the next time, probably on your way out when you'll get stuck in traffic, in the Bangalore traffic, don't get agitated. sit down, take a seat back, observe life around you, observe your city breathe, observe the people and all the beautiful stories and connections they're making while interacting with each other. And you'll have just a bunch of them in your vicinity. And that's a wonderful way of looking at life, right? That opens up your brain to a lot more than yourself. Which brings me to my next point. Living life in 24 frames per second also gives you a fresh perspective that is not only about you, but the world around you. You know, while growing up, we live a life which is very solitary in nature. We're only dealing mostly with ourselves and by extension, our family, our relatives, and at max, a few acquaintances. But to realize that every random passerby on the street has a life that is as delicate, as stressful, and as beautiful as yours, just a wonderful feeling and evokes a beautiful feeling of empathy and generosity and kindness amongst you. And don't you think the world needs a little more of that? So the next time you get into a fight or a little bit of a quarrel with someone and you're angry at someone, give it some time, observe, think about where they're coming from, think about your complications and your implications of your actions. Maybe, just maybe, you wouldn't be as angry anymore. And third, and lastly, but probably the most important part of living life in 24 frames per second is to maximize your time here. We are finite individuals. We are only here for a finite amount of time. And I don't think there is a better way of looking at life than by the frame. This way, you can be more, you can do more, and you can eventually live more. And that's probably the reasons why we are born here and we're in this world in the first place, to live, right? We're not here to work and slog and do all this. Eventually, the plan is to live more and make the most of your time here. Well, that's the secret I wanted to share with you all. The secret that I carry as a young animation filmmaker. And I'm happy that I could share this with you. Living life by the frame. Now, let me take you on a little bit of a segue to a quote by an animation legend and a very dear inspiration of mine, Arnab Chaudhary. He's a legendary animation filmmaker from India. And he had once said that as animators, we live young till the rest of our lives. Why is that? Because for us, a minute can last us up to 6 months, right? So if we continuously and consistently keep at it, just doing a little bit more every day, maybe we'd live a very long time. Now, the last bit, I just want to reiterate the most important part of my talk here. Live your life in 24 frames per second. Make the most of your time here. And the best way to do that is living by the frame. Experience life in all its simplicities and complications, and make sure you have a life as enriching and as fulfilling as one of an animator. Thank you, everyone.